much has been made about the whole net zero madness. In my mind, I have a very strong opinion. Others have different opinions. I know people care about the environment. Maybe at 60, I don't care as much as others, but I do understand that longevity is important. What I don't want is something that is pure ideology that is essentially going to bankrupt this country still further. David Turver, it is Turver, energy analyst. That sounds very intelligent. David, a very good evening. Welcome to Talk Drive.
Good evening to you, Jeremy.
Oh, it's you again. Oh, there he is. I remember him. I remember him. I said, who's that? You went, you'll remember him. It's him. It's the energy analyst. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm slightly confused about the shirt. I've got 11 across. What's 14 down? Nobody got the joke.
Well, I had to search through my shirts for one that didn't have a logo on it, because that's the...
Can I get, before we talk about solar panels and this ridiculous shoddy heat pump story today, can I just ask you as an analyst whether I'm wrong here? So this farmer tax is presumably an attempt by Labour to grab land to build wind farms, which everybody tells me, and you would know, cannot and will not provide enough electricity energy for us to have lower bills. We will then thus have to import from other countries, which will increase our bills. And in the midst of all of this, we've got underground billions of pounds worth of oil and gas, which we don't do because that'll upset the friends of the earth, and we're skint.
Broadly speaking, yes. Yeah, because as we all know, the wind doesn't blow all the time.
Nope.
So no matter how many wind turbines we build, we'll never be able to match supply and demand. So we either need to have a gas backup, or some of the crazier ideas as we have during the time when it's too windy, we make hydrogen with the surplus electricity, which is hugely expensive, or we import it from abroad.
What about nuclear?
And because we have to have two systems, then that's almost bound to be more expensive than one. What about nuclear? Well, I'm a great advocate of nuclear. I think it's clean energy, it's very reliable energy. Its downside is that it can't yet flex up and down as much as demand does, so it would need some extra, probably gas, so we can match supply and demand all the time. But the trouble is that we sort of over-regulate nuclear, so our nuclear costs are 3 or 4 times more expensive than building the same thing in Korea or in the United Arab Emirates.
What's your view on people get really sort of, oh my God, fracking? We just threw this out at 4 o'clock and it went mad. Of course, Trump arrives at the White House inauguration speech and says, apart from there are two sexes, he says, it's drill, baby, drill. I mean, I understand the hypocrisy of a little bit of what I'm trying to say, but, you know, you have politicians saying, we need more houses, but not in my constituency. We have people saying, here's this, you know, we're rich in this stuff, but we don't want to upset the environmentalists. Somebody suggested earlier, I'll throw it at you, you might laugh. What about dealing with the people who are against fracking by compensating them and making sure that their bills are lower as a compensation for fracking in their area?
Well, of course, in America, generally speaking, the people who own land, they would get a payment from those who they're allowed to drill on their land. So okay. I'm not opposed to making payments to people in the local area where fracking happens. In fact, I think that would probably be a good thing. I think it makes sense for us to, you know, frack baby frack, to use the vernacular. Not least because even the Climate Change Committee admits that we will still be using gas in 2050. That's what this gas with carbon capture stuff is.
And we've got gas in the North Sea, right?
And I say, well, you know, we might as well use what we've got of our own.
What is the ideology? You are an energy analyst, and it's great to have you on, and I mean that. What is the ideology? All right, let's talk about financial. What's the financial ideology between you've got natural gas, people might have to bite the bullet to a degree, but we're skint, and this will help the finances of the United Kingdom?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why don't politicians understand that, David?
I don't know why they don't understand it. So I did a piece about 12 months ago where I looked at the cost of green jobs. So there's all this talk about green jobs. So if I looked at the wind and solar sectors and then how much subsidy we apply to the wind and solar sectors, and each job costs us roughly £250,000 per year. So we
God.
can't afford that. Um, Whereas if we had jobs in fracking, those wouldn't be subsidised. They'd be high earning, high paying. The productivity of that sector is really high, much higher than the rest of the economy. Uh, and either we use the gas ourselves, which helps our balance of payments because we wouldn't be importing it, or if we get really good at it, we can probably export as well, which would turbocharge the balance of payments.
So you can sort of
And then we would
understand. I
have
know
cheap
he's.
energy.
I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but you sort of understand increasingly the businessman that is Donald Trump going right. So it's costing us that because we're not. So I'm going to drill because I've got all that. So I'm going to make it, and if I don't use it all, I'm going to sell it. I mean, I think that this country. I mean, the two stories that we were going to talk about with you. I mean, fracking's great. There's this. I mean, this story about. Cowboy builders will be free to fit heat pumps in new homes under net zero plans. The government has been warned. From 2027, new homes will be fitted with a heat pump as standard under rules that are expected to be introduced within weeks. They can sod off if they want my house there. But while heat pumps installed under government grant schemes in existing homes must be fitted by accredited technicians, there will be no such standards for new homes. Households have been warned that as a result, rogue traders may be fitting their heat pumps, potentially leading to a mis-selling scandal. Oh my God, it gets worse, this country, doesn't it? Heat pumps.
It's crazy.
Are you going to tell me that if I buy a new house after 2027, I've got to have a heat pump?
Yes, that's.
Well, I'm not going to. I'm going to tear it out. Why would I want a heat pump? I want a heat pump.
I know, but you might struggle because I think they're stopping new houses also being fitted with a gas connection. It is crazy.
They're stopping new houses getting a gas connection? Let me tell you, if there's rogue traders, there'll be one that will sort you out a gas connection. Do you fear the net zero? Genuine question, but meant to ask you last time. Not put in the right way. Do you think this will blow up and end, or do you think it will carry on and on and on? Do you think it would die if this government finished? Do you think that there is a degree of sense coming back amongst the British public, or even, the elected politicians, or not?
I think the elected politicians are starting to see a bit of sense. So if we go back to sort of like 2023, Rishi Sunak sort of did a very mild backpedal on some of the more draconian measures on banning cars and banning boilers and that sort of thing, and he got sort of like roasted for it by what you might call the Green Blob. And then last election, the Reform Party was the only party to sort of fight, or the only main party to fight the election on an end net zero. And then, of course, last week, Kemi Badenoch came out and said basically, she's the Tory party is no longer committed to net zero by 2050. So I did a piece on this on Sunday where I likened it to a sort of like a Jenga tower. So Sunak took out a couple of pieces, Farage took out a few more, and then Kemi Badenoch has taken out the critical piece, and now what I call the cozy consensus has collapsed. But net zero is still there. But now it's sort of okay for polite society to talk about the end of net zero and how bad it will be. I do hope it collapses, and I hope it collapses before the economy collapses, because we cannot continue with such expensive energy. And the whole premise is that we have expensive, scarce energy, which is a recipe for economic decline.
As long as I'm doing this show, you are always welcome. I mean this, you make sense to an old man about a subject that annoys me, but I don't know enough about. David Turver, energy analyst, thank you so much indeed. Author of the Egan Values Substack. Really good to have him on. Great, great, great.